Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report. Real pleasure to welcome back to the program Dave Weigel, author of the Americana newsletter at Semaphore. Dave, I love reading your pieces over at Semaphore. I'm excited to see where we're going with this. But we were just saying before you came on, you've been swimming in this story for a month, but on the Republican side.
Yeah, a little bit on the Democratic side, because the Democrats were frozen. They either were figuring out how to say they wanted Biden to not run, or not saying anything, or if John Fetterman was the exception, defending Biden and demanding this whole thing go away. But with Republicans, they've been feeling incredible since the debate, and they had this sense of angst, I wouldn't say panic, about what would happen if Biden dropped out and was replaced. And because in conservative discourse for a very long time, there had been questions about this. If you were listening, I wrote a story June 2023 from Iowa, where I was talking to Republican voters and elected officials, Joni Ernst, and just none of them thought Biden would end up being the nominee. They really couldn't. They really assumed Democrats were going to switch out the nominee. They assumed it'd be done more cleanly, like there was a plan to do this. I don't think this looks like that. But they've been worrying and saying, okay, if it's not the candidate who's so old that a lot of voters just won't vote for him on ideological reasons, we need to be ready for Democrats to swap somebody in. And they thought it wouldn't be Harris because they assumed Democrats would be able to find the most popular Democrat in the country and put them in as a ringer. That's their only surprise. There were some people who convinced themselves, like Vivek Ramaswamy, that Democrats would convince Michelle Obama to run. Ted Cruz is saying the same thing. I just was listening to a press conference. Cruz was giving a text about this, where he twice referred to things he predicted on his podcast. Like, this really underlines how much of the discourse they had about this thing going on.
I can't believe. Was it like a total head fake regarding Clinton not coming on and being the nominee?
They never really talked about a little bit. I shouldn't say never, because if you go on Twitter Spaces or you listen to Rumble, this has been a water cooler conversation or a podcast conversation for at least a year, longer than that. Surely they have to swap somebody else out for Biden. And look, they were right. They found the nut. They were right this time that Biden wasn't going to be the nominee. They thought there was a plan from the beginning. And there was even, I remember, I give him some credit. I was talking to Vivek Ramaswamy at the Libertarian Convention over Memorial Day weekend, a month before the debate. And he was, in his very humble way, telling reporters that they need to smarten up and see Democrats only agreed to this early debate in June because they were going to swap out Biden. Well, I don't think that's why they did it, based on all my reporting, but that happened. That did happen, that they need to deal with a new candidate for the first time ever.
So, all right. So give me a sense of like where, well, I mean, you were at the convention too. I mean, when they would talk about Trump, looking serene and this and that, I mean, aside from the possibility that maybe he was on painkillers because of his ear, I don't know if that was the case or not, but the past like 3 weeks had been glorious for Trump. I mean, the debate, but also the fact that like all of his criminal stuff immediately, over the course of a week, basically went away because of the Supreme Court thing. I mean, he's still even contesting his sentencing, got pushed back in New York, even like it seemed like all of a sudden the road was wide open, and all of a sudden now it seems like it's a little bit congested.
Yes, and you put it pretty well. That really, I'd say all year Republicans felt good. After the debate, they thought they had the election locked up. They didn't see polling collapsing for Biden because Biden's polls were already pretty low, but they saw they had leads everywhere. They were talking about expanding the map into Minnesota and New Mexico and Virginia. It was the most joyous I've seen Republicans since, I would say since 2004, since Bush in 2004, when they were pretty sure after that convention that they had everything locked up. I'm trying to remember the time. Yeah, the timing at the time, the Swift boat thing was already underway, so they really thought that was over. And this is an X factor. They don't like the X factor. So when I was talking to them at the convention over the week, they did start to adjust their talking points. First, they thought the assassination attempt which they talked about again and again in religious terms, and I do think is important. They really again and again said that God had saved Trump by getting him to turn his head. They said that was going to win the election. I was at an event with Tucker Carlson on Monday where he said, "Oh, that's it. That's Trump will be the next president because people will see the video and say that that man is a hero and we need to put him in power." And then over the course of the week, they started to spin a little bit more. Well, if they replace with Harris, they've never said, and we're going to lose to Harris. But they really did try to will themselves into this idea that no one could ever beat Donald Trump because he survived this assassin's bullet, and therefore he would have to win. You can tell, not motivated reasoning, but you can tell when people are just repeating something, hoping it becomes true. And I think it faded over the course of the week for many reasons. Everyone forgets things in 5 minutes these days. Just news cycles move faster. My pet theory that's a little bit gauche, I guess, is that just because the injury was so minor, because we didn't have like weeks of Trump in the hospital, what's going to happen to him, things of that nature, because he got nicked in the ear and that was it. It was both incredible luck and also, how close did he come? He came a second away from this, but it has not just captured the nation's hearts the way that they wanted it to. It captured Republicans' hearts. For Republicans, it seems incredibly important. For the swing voter, who is there somebody who now says, "Well, I've seen Donald Trump survive a close call with death." I haven't seen that yet. It's very hard to poll, but I heard less of that at the RNC as he was just giving his normal speech, giving more than a convention speech, his normal or off the teleprompter lengthy speech. They was kind of back to normal. We have Donald Trump as our nominee, and there are pluses and minuses.
Well, there's an analogy. Sorry. There's an analogy between Biden not having too far to fall in the polls after the debate because he was already low, and Republicans not having too far to add to their notion that Trump is Jesus because they already sort of felt that. Mm-hmm. And so you can't be super Jesus. It's it's sort of binary. You're either the Messiah or you're not. It's not like super Messiah. But go ahead. Emma.
Yeah, there's nowhere to go. And I mentioned Tucker, and he was even saying this is inevitable because they, capital THE, they are trying to take out Trump. And as the week went on, it became clear that crooks didn't really have an ideological motivation.
Right.
This being the deep state trying to take out Trump. That there is always the danger with them, with I think the modern Republican Party, which has basically replaced the media in its own landscape. There is a danger in everybody agreeing on something that has not gotten outside that bubble.
Yes. Yeah, and to add to what Sam was saying as well, it just feels like Trump, there's no room to change people's minds about Trump in the sense that he's been in our lives basically nearly for 10 years as a political figure. Everybody already has their opinions of Donald Trump at a certain point. So like turning him into a martyr to expand Republicans' reach, it just didn't have that same salience. And I saw somebody say this is the first election since 76 or 80 where there's not a Biden, a Clinton, or a Bush on the ticket, which is astounding to think about. But this is where the Democrats actually have a real opportunity to lean into youth change future, which is why I think I feel positively about Harris's prospects relative to maybe some other people, because it really is a way to turn the page on an era of politics where people were so dejected by these two choices, where that's why like that evidence of Trump not being able to use that, it's just like everyone's opinion on Trump in this country is freaking locked in at this point for the most part.
Yeah, I've been wondering about that. Also hard to poll. We're all going off takes and our own conversations, but I try to talk to a mix of people who are not always involved in politics, and they really, you could feel this. There just was this dread across the country that we'd have to choose between two candidates from 2020. Both of them, I think Trump is about as popular as he was then, but he has more scar tissue from January 6th, and he's giving worse speeches. And Biden had declined a lot, and just you could tell there are a lot of people who, if you quiz them on what they want a Republican trifecta or Democrat trifecta to do, I'm not being insulting. I don't think they have ideas. It's just they really resented that this was two old guys, and now it's not. And I want to see what happens. I don't know yet. There are people who totally woke up today and had no idea there was a female vice president because they just don't pay attention. And now they're learning, oh, wait a second. There's some like almost Generation Xer. I think she's like the last month of Boomer. But Generation X passing candidate versus Donald Trump. That's different.
I think she is Gen X. How old is she?
She's nearly 60.
Yeah, she was born. She's right
She
on
looks
the
great.
It's really annoying because you'd like there to be a clean Gen X decision, but like when did the baby boomer generation end? It's right around when she was born.
65 is around. I think. I mean, because I'm Gen X, but that's not important. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.